it is not available, especially for the period in which Periyar was in Malaya. But there are extensive reports in Periyar's own Kudiyarasu, and I was very happy to find the Malaya Tribune in this very building in the National Library, which provides somewhat detailed accounts of Periyar's visit to Malaya. The very interesting instance which I recently found, the Malayan Bulletin of Political Intelligence, which is actually part of the Indian political intelligence files of the British government, which are now available in the British Library and also in the National Archives here, very interestingly makes no reference to this particular visit of Periyar, even though the earlier visit by T. Prakasam, the Andhra leader, is finding much mention. This particular tour proved to be very controversial. Periyar arrived in December 1929. He travelled for a month to Penang, Ipoh, Kuala Lumpur, Batu Pahat, Malacca and other regions, and finally arrived in Singapore, and from Singapore he went back to India. This visit was both preceded and accompanied by controversy. Periyar himself provides a very detailed account of the kind of controversies and opposition that his visit evoked. Some local reactionary and conservative Hindu organizations tried to sabotage Periyar's visit, but it was only because of the efforts of Tamilavel Ko Sarangapani, Swami Arpudananda, and a couple of others of his friends who later go on to form the Tamils Reform Association. They were the ones who ensured that this whole trip was a success. I found, for instance, a report in the Malaya Tribune which provides a detailed account of a mass meeting that a local Hindu, Penang Hindu Sabha, organizes. It says that, it demands the government that his visit should be stopped, or even if he actually comes to Malaya, he should not be permitted to give lectures, because the quotation I have given is notorious for his writings against Hindu religion, God and the Vedas. So it could cause religious strife. It also tried to, hit below the belt. It wrote to the government saying that Periyar Ramasamy Nayakar is a Gandhian. He was part of the non-cooperation movement. He had fought against the British government and had been imprisoned, so he should not be permitted. Forgetting the fact that in the preceding few years, Periyar had actually taken a different political line. The outcome of this visit was this. Periyar, when he launched when he started on his tour, when he left Nagapattinam to come here, he made a very interesting statement. He said that I am going to Malaya not because my job in India is done. There is so much to be done in India itself, but I am going to Malaya because the people who went from here to Malaya come from very deprived backgrounds. They belong to the lower caste and the lower class. But what they have done is, when they have gone to Malaya, they have taken the superstitions, the iniquities of caste and religion to this new place as well. So I want to make an impact on this scene, change them and give them a sense of belonging and identity. This was the reason that he advanced for going to Malaya, and during this entire 1 month period, he gave extensive talks in all parts of the region. Sometimes he gave as many as 3 to 4 talks every day. Of course, Periyar's long life is full of such continuous meetings of propaganda against the face of great opposition. The outcome of this 1 month's visit, I think, is still visible, and this impact that Periyar made in 1929-30 amongst the Indian community here, amongst the Tamils here, this kind of sense of identity that he gave them, and how he was able to trigger movements within this Tamil diaspora, how as a result of his propaganda and activities, the Tamils were able to organize themselves here, and how they have actually grown over the last few generations there for everybody to see. We find, almost all the controversies and political movements which took place in colonial India during the time of the nationalist movement, they get replayed in Malaya and Singapore. So this is the story that we are fairly familiar with. Most of us know about this particular tour. Now I move on to the second part of the tour, which is, to me, the most amazing and fascinating story. By about 1930-31, Periyar's interest was invoked. Periyar's interest in the Soviet Union and in other parts of Europe regarding the progressive movements, the socialist ideals, were capturing the imagination of Periyar. By about 1931, the very first translation of the Communist Manifesto in any Indian language was made in Periyar's Kudiyarasu. The translation of the Communist Manifesto began to appear in late 1931 under the joint name of Periyar and his very close friend S. Ramanathan. And shortly after this translation was published, he set out on a tour of Europe. There was an announcement in the Kudiyarasu newspaper that the editor of the journal is proceeding on a 3 to 4 month tour. The purpose of the visit, it was said, was to familiarize oneself with the radical and progressive movements of the world. But what actually happened was that this planned 3 to 4 month trip turned out to be a 1 year long trip. And the so-called European tour actually covered so many countries. He started from Chennai, went to Sri Lanka, then he went to the Suez, he went to Egypt, he went to Cairo, then he went to Greece, he went to Turkey, and then he went to the USSR, Soviet Russia, spent about 2 to 3 months. Then he went to Germany for a month, then spent another month in Britain, then he went to France, Portugal, Spain, and then returned to India via Ceylon. This 1 year was a very eventful period. He was, during this 1 year period, he interacted with almost all the great progressive movements and organizations of the world, starting from the Profintern and the League of the Militant Godless in Soviet Union, to the League Against Imperialism in Germany, the Free Thinkers Association, the Workers' International Relief, the Communist Party organizations and socialist organizations in UK. Practically, you name any of the progressive movements and anti-imperialist and anti-colonial movement of that time, Periyar was in touch with these organizations. And during this period, he also met some of the great Indian freedom fighters, nationalist activists who were living translocational lives at that point. He met Abani Mukherjee, he met Rajni Pamdat, he met Shapurji Saklatwala, and he was in close touch with all of them during this period. But unfortunately, what happened is that this 1 year period in his life, this great tour, has not been adequately well documented. There have been a number of reasons. One reason was that even though Periyar promised to write in detail about this tour in his Kudiyarasu, what happened after his return to India was that he was completely absorbed in the vortex of the politics and the busy activities that he was involved in on his return, and he never provided a detailed account of this. The other very strange thing is that I have looked up the archives, both the state archives, the records of the Madras government, the records of the government of India of that time, and also the files of the Indian political intelligence of the British Foreign Office in the British Library. For some strange reason, despite the fact that Periyar met all the anti-colonialist organizations and people who had a file in the Foreign Office of the Indian Political Intelligence Wing. His activities themselves have not been recorded in the archives. So what we have had is a very sketchy account of Periyar's tour. Luckily, what happened in the late 1990s was that Mr. V. Anaimuthu, the great editor of Periyar's writings, who has spent a lifetime collecting Periyar's writings and has published them. In 1997, he found a manuscript of Periyar's European tour. This manuscript consisted of 151 pages, and from the manuscript it is very clear that it is only a partial manuscript. The first part and the third part is certainly missing, and this tour diary covers only 78 days in his 331-day tour. You have a facsimile of this manuscript. Periyar's hand was notoriously difficult to write. One of my friends said, no, once you find out what language he has written in, then it is very easy to read Periyar's hand. So this is the first page, so it's reasonably clear. So it was Mr. Anaimuthu who deciphered this manuscript and he has published it. I have used this manuscript extensively, and I have also been able to supplement this with a number of other documents, and I have also been able to standing on the shoulders of Mr. Anaimuthu, I have been able to correct some of the readings that he has done. Now, this tour diary begins on April 19th. So the first 3-4 months he has been to the Suez, Cairo, Athens, Constantinople, and through the Odisha he has reached. He has started from Kharkov and is reaching Moscow. So 70 days, something like the 40 days of his Soviet tour, we have an account. This is the most fascinating account. What is very clear is that Periyar's tour has come on his own initiative. That is very clear from this record. He is spending money from his own pocket. So it has not been funded by the Comintern or any of the Soviet front organizations. But in the Soviet Union itself, this whole tour seems to have been conducted by the League of the Militant Godless. This is an amazing league which was established in the height of the new economic policy in Soviet Union. It was a nominally independent organization, not part of the Communist Party of Soviet Union, and at the peak of its activities, that was the time when actually Periyar went to Soviet Union. It commanded a membership of something like 5.5 million people. This was also distinct from the Komsomol or the Communist Union of Youth. This League of the Militant Godless was also publishing an atheist journal called the Bezboshnik. I was able to look up a study of Bezboshnik by an American scholar, and it provides some of the details of the kind of journal that this Bezboshnik was running. And you could see that, compared to the Kudiyarsa journal that Periyar was running, this Bezboshnik could not even hold a candle to the journal that Periyar was running. It was of a very crude kind of atheistic propaganda that this organization was carrying out. So this was the organization which was shepherding Periyar through the entire tour. And during this tour, Periyar goes to something called the Old